He never thought a blanket, just an ordinary, slightly frayed, slightly coffee-stained human blanket, would be the thing that ruined his quiet evening, or his entire future, depending on how literally one took the word marriage. But as Alex would later discover, the universe had a habit of translating human kindness into cosmic level misunderstandings, and tonight, the universe wasn't just mistranslating, it was apparently drunk. The girl had stumbled out of the woods behind his cabin long after sunset, illuminated in the porch light like some mythic creature caught between fear and exhaustion. Her silhouette wavered as if she couldn't quite decide whether she should run or collapse. Alex had been halfway through microwaving yesterday's leftovers when he heard the soft thump against his door. By the time he opened it, she was leaning against the railing, breathing hard, eyes glowing faintly like embers seen through frost. She was not human, not even close. Her skin shimmered with a blue-silver hue, shifting softly like storm clouds lit by an internal moon. Her hair cascaded in strands that looked less like fibers and more like liquid metal, breaking into soft luminescent flickers whenever she moved. And her eyes, large, crystalline, and trembling, focused on him with a kind of desperate disbelief, as if she'd been searching for something she wasn't sure existed. He reacted like any reasonable human who found an injured extraterrestrial on their porch. He froze. She swayed, nearly falling, and that snapped him out of it. The logical part of his brain screamed questions. Where did she come from? Was she dangerous? Was he hallucinating? Should he call someone? But the empathetic part, the stubbornly human part. I saw a girl who was scared and freezing, and barely able to stand, so he did the instinctive, human thing. He grabbed a blanket from the sofa and wrapped it around her shoulders. The alien girl stopped, breathing. Not just paused, stopped. Her eyes widened in horror. He couldn't tell while her glowing fingers trembled against the fabric. Alex thought maybe she was in shock, maybe the blanket was too warm, maybe he'd just made some unintended cultural faux pas, like covering her with a symbol of mourning or something equally catastrophic. He opened his mouth to reassure her, but she whispered first, You've chosen me." He blinked slowly, because his brain needed a moment. What?" Her voice cracked, wrapped halfway between a sob and an overwhelmed plea. "You've offered your warmth, your protection. Why, you're joining cloth. My what?" She pressed both palms to the blanket as if holding a sacred artifact. The binding shroud, the sign of life-sharing. "Humans your kind offer this only to the person you intend to claim." Alex briefly considered banging his forehead against the door just to reboot his thought process. No, he said carefully, hands raised. "That's just a blanket, a normal blanket." "You looked cold." She blinked at him in a way that said, "You fool, you beautiful, oblivious fool." Her voice lowered. "Your species. You initiate union so casually." "It's not union, it's warmth," he said, nodding firmly, hoping reality would conform if he sounded confident enough. "Heat, comfort, cold weather." But she stepped closer, the blanket trailing behind her like ceremonial robes, and the porch light caught the shimmering edges of her hair. She seemed steadier now, but her tremor had shifted, less physical, more emotional. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Where I come from. To offer warmth is to offer yourself." Alex had exactly one functioning neuron left, and it screamed, "Oh no." She touched the blanket again, reverent. "Humans are known for emotional intensity, for reckless devotion. I never thought I'd witness it." Her voice wavered as if her heart was trying to climb into her throat. "And you offered it to a stranger." "To me, that's what humans do," he said, exasperated but soft. "We help people, we don't let others freeze. And you help by bonding yourself." He opened his mouth, then closed it again, trying to explain human altruism to someone whose culture listened warmths. Sharing was like trying to explain sarcasm to a toaster. He rubbed the back of his neck, realizing the night was spiraling so fast he might actually need to sit down. "Look," he said, "I'm Alex High." She hesitated, and that hesitation told him she wasn't sure if sharing her name was some sacred, intimate commitment to. After a long, tense pause, she whispered, "Leary." "Okay, Leary, nice to meet you. Let's just take it slow and I accept." "Accept what?" he said cautiously. She stepped toward him fully, a mixture of fear and determination tightening her jaw. "Your proposal." Alex leaned against the doorframe because the alternative was collapsing onto the deck. No, he repeated for the third time that evening. "There was no Leary. It was a blanket. Just a blanket. That is not how my species interprets it." "Yeah, I'm starting to pick that up." She looked at him with such sincerity it almost hurt. "You gave me warmth. That means cross the stars. In every record we are joined." "That's not," he sighed. "Leary, humans give blankets to pets. 2 friends, 2 guests. It's not a marriage thing." She stared. She slowly, mechanically processed that information like someone receiving terrible news. "Pets," she repeated, voice hollow. "You give this sacred gesture. 2 animals." He winced. "I feel like I'm explaining this badly." She clutched the blanket tighter, expression twisting between heartbreak and mortification. "I thought you were choosing me. I thought you saw something in me worth binding to." And that hit him in a way he wasn't prepared for. Because, regardless of cultural misunderstandings, she genuinely believed he'd offered her something precious. And beneath the embarrassment, Beneath the comedic disaster, she looked truly alone. "Hey," he said softly. "I didn't mean to confuse you, but I do want to help you. You're safe here, I promise." Leary's eyes softened, the crystalline glow dimming into something fragile and hopeful. "In my culture," she whispered, "promises are also binding." He groaned. "Okay. New rule. I'm not saying any more symbolic statements until we sort this out." A small, delicate smile flickered across her lips. "You humans are strange." "Yeah, you're telling me." The wind rustled through the trees. Somewhere far above, the stars pulsed in silent witness, and Alex realized, with a sinking but oddly warm feeling, that his quiet human life had just been abducted by the laws of alien romance, and the blanket, the stupid blanket, was only the beginning. Alex didn't sleep that night, not because he didn't want to. He was exhausted enough to hibernate, but because there was now a glowing alien girl sitting stiffly on his couch like a ceremonial statue. Wrapped in the blanket she still believed symbolized cosmic matrimony. She balanced on the edge of the cushion like one wrong movement might invalidate the entire union, while Alex sat across from her, elbows on his knees, debating whether caffeine or a coma sounded more appealing. Leary kept watching him with unblinking intensity, which wasn't helping his blood pressure. "So," he began, voice strained in the way people sound when trying to defuse a bomb while pretending the bomb isn't judging them. "Let's go over things slowly. I help you because that's what humans do, not because I'm proposing anything. Blankets are not romantic objects." She listened with the stillness of a soldier at military briefing. "And yet," she countered gently, "you gave warmth. You moved toward me, not away. You offered shelter. On my world, it is more intimate than touching lips." "Well, on my world, touching lips is touching lips. Warmth is warmth. Shelter is hospitality. Humans, we don't make everything sacred." Leary lowered her gaze. "Maybe you should." The words landed heavier than he expected. Not dramatic, not desperate, just quietly honest. Alex rubbed his face with both hands, trying to chase the growing sense of guilt. He didn't cause whatever trauma followed Leary here, but he could tell something had hurt her deeply before she reached his doorstep. "Leary," he said more gently, "what happened to you? Why were you in the woods? Were you running from something?" She didn't answer at first. The soft glow of her skin dimmed slightly, like the light was tied to emotion. "There was a crash," she murmured. "Our small vessel. We were trying to reach Sanctuary, a system where my mother had contacts. I don't know if they were trustworthy." Her breath caught. "The crash killed the others." He swallowed. "I'm sorry." She nodded as if bracing herself against memories. "I wondered until I sensed heat, a living presence nearby. I thought I'd die before I reached it." She exhaled shakily. "Then you found me." Alex wanted to say something comforting, something not culturally binding this time, but Leary looked up before he could speak. "The bond misunderstanding. I'll try to correct it," she said without bitterness. "I understand now that humans don't assign meaning to warmth the same way. It's fine. I can accept that." But she didn't sound fine. She sounded like someone gently stitching up her own emotional wound with her teeth. Before he could answer, her stomach growled loudly, her cheeks flushed a pale violet, and she sat even straighter, mortified. "Was that dangerous?" she whispered. He choked back a laugh. "No, it means you're hungry." Her eyes widened. "You feed me already." "That's not a marriage ritual," he said quickly, holding up a hand. "Food means survival, not romance." She sighed, relieved. "Your species lore is complicated." "Oh yeah, totally," he muttered. "Nothing is more dangerous than accidentally flirting." He heated leftovers because, humor or not, she'd nearly died. Leary watched him microwave rice and vegetables like he was operating some arcane artifact. When he handed her the bowl, she lifted it slowly, hands trembling as if it might detonate. When she tasted it, her whole posture loosened in slow disbelief. Warmth spread across her face, not glowing, not ceremonial, just emotion. "This tastes like safety." He opened his mouth to correct her, then stopped. She didn't mean it in the romantic ritual sense. She meant it in the survival sense. He let the moment sit. She set the bowl down halfway through eating, as if realizing something critical. If warmth isn't romantic, and shelter isn't romantic, then what is to humans? He wished she hadn't asked that. A complicated answer. "I learn quickly," she said earnestly. "Teach me." He pinched his eyebrows. "Romance is wanting someone, choosing them, not out of need, but because life feels better with them in it. Humans don't bind through one gesture, we build connection." Slowly, Leary studied him carefully. "So your species falls in love intentionally?" "We try," he said with a dry laugh. "Mostly we fall on our faces. That's the charm." That seemed to shake something loose in her. Her posture softened. Her shoulders lowered, and for the first time since arriving, she looked less like a hunted creature and more like a girl trying to understand the universe again. "I think I want to learn that," she whispered. He wasn't sure if she meant love, connection, or simply being human, and he didn't dare ask. A long silence settled between them, gentle rather than awkward. Then Leary exhaled. "Alex, if the blanket did not bind us, then I owe you an apology for assuming union." "That's okay," he said softly. She shook her head. but I accepted it. I stepped toward you. By my people's law, I was the one who declared union, not you. That mistake marks me. Mistake, he repeated. You didn't do anything wrong, her voice cracked. You don't understand. If anyone from my world learns that I initiated a bond with an outsider, I will be dishonored permanently. His stomach sank, just for misinterpreting a gesture. Yes, by tradition, I am no longer eligible for a formal pairing. Ever. I am unclaimed. Alex stared at her, stunned, silent. It wasn't marriage she'd feared, it was exile from her own people. She wasn't clinging to him because of ritual. She was clinging because she had nothing left to cling to. That is why I panicked, she finished softly. Because if I misunderstood your gesture, then I have destroyed my future. Alex leaned forward, voice firm, steady, undeniable. Leary, that's their law, not your worth. Her eyes shimmered, overwhelmed, but she didn't mistake it for a proposal this time. You humans, she whispered. You say things like that so easily. It must be why your kind changes entire galaxies. You feel too deeply to leave anything untouched. Yeah, he sighed, sitting back. We're a menace. The corner of her lip curled upward, and something sweet flickered between them. Not ritual, not obligation, but something dangerously human that, and neither of them noticed how close they'd begun to sit until the silence made it obvious. Alex cleared his throat and stood abruptly. I'll get you a pillow for sleeping on the couch. Leary nodded quickly. Of course, that is appropriate. Neither of them looked the other in the eye, because for the first time since arriving, the misunderstanding wasn't the reason the air felt charged. Something real had started growing, and both of them felt it. Morning arrived too early and too bright for a man who had spent the night bargaining with his sanity. Alex dragged himself into the kitchen, hair a disaster, eyes half functional. But when he saw Leary already awake, folding his blanket with military precision, sitting politely on the edge of the couch like she had rehearsed being non-intrusive, he straightened subconsciously. As if posture mattered more when an alien was watching. Good morning, he said, rubbing sleep from his eyes. Leary looked over, light in her face, literal and emotional. Humans greet the news cycle with pleasant statements, even when clearly exhausted. Fascinating. That, or coffee, he muttered. Mostly coffee. He started a pot brewing, and Leary inhaled sharply when the scent hit her. This smelled. What is it? It feels like battle preparation and celebration simultaneously. That's accurate, he said. Coffee is how humans keep functioning despite the universe not cooperating. Then I want to participate. Oh no, no, he said quickly. Human physiology barely survives coffee. I'm not introducing caffeine to an alien whose biochemistry I don't understand. She deflated adorably, annoyingly, and successfully softening him into reconsideration without even trying. Fine, he sighed. One sip. Tiny. Leary held the mug like it contained secrets of immortality. When she tasted it, her glow intensified from soft to near radiant. She set the mug down with exaggerated reverence. This, which is power, she whispered. This is how your species conquered space, isn't it? We didn't conquer space, he said, pouring cereal. We mostly tripped into it and pretended it was on purpose. Leary tilted her head, intrigued. Humans survive by bluff. We call it confidence, he corrected. But yeah, pretty much. He watched him eat cereal the same way she'd watched him microwave food, as if Earth. Rituals were written in gold, and she needed to learn them to belong. He didn't tease her. There was something deeply fragile behind her curiosity, as if she expected rejection at any moment. When breakfast ended, she asked tentatively, what do humans do during the day? Should I assist you in your duties? Do mates share labor? The word mates slipped out too naturally. Alex didn't react sharply. She wasn't clinging to the ritual anymore, just copying the vocabulary she knew. But he did want to steer things away from her, assuming she owed him anything. You don't have to work for me, he said. You're not my responsibility. Her glow dimmed. So I am a burden. No, he corrected quickly. I mean, you're not obligated. You're safe here. That's not conditional. Her lips trembled in a way she clearly didn't want visible. I don't understand how your species functions. If everything is voluntary, why do you care? Why help someone who brings you nothing in return? Because people matter, he answered simply. You matter. She looked like the sentence physically shook her. My people don't say things like that. No one says that to someone like me. Someone like me. He didn't like the way she said it. You don't have to earn a place, he said, voice steady. Being alive is enough. Leary didn't glow. She didn't smile. She didn't speak. Instead, she pressed both hands over her heart, not ritualistically, but instinctively, as if holding something fragile inside. He looked away to give her privacy she didn't ask for but needed. They spent the day trying to be normal, which was a disaster. Leary demanded to help with chores, and every task turned into a cultural minefield. Laundry. She assumed folding socks was a religious rite. Cleaning dishes. She believed soap was a preservation chemical for preparing relics. Watering plants. She whispered respectful apologies to each leaf, because she didn't know if the small green ones were scent. By afternoon, Alex was equally exhausted and deeply charmed, but the peace cracked when someone knocked on the door. Leary froze instantly, all instinct, all terror. Her glow tightened to a dim outline, pupils narrowed, and she hissed in a language that didn't require translation to express fear. Alex lifted his palm slowly. It's okay. It's probably my neighbor. We don't have enemies. She didn't move. He approached the door and opened it just enough to peek out. As predicted, it was Mrs. Holston, his overly curious, overly chatty 68-year-old neighbor, whose superpower was appearing at every inconvenient moment. She craned her neck instantly. Alex, who is she? Is she staying with you? Should I be planning a wedding or an intervention? Leary, still terrified, stepped into view. Mrs. Holston gasped, not in fear, but in delighted scandal. Oh my stars, she's gorgeous. Where did you find this one? Leary whispered, horrified. Is this female claiming ownership of you? Alex nearly combusted on the spot. No, she's not claiming anything. Mrs. Holston is just old, nosy, and thrilled, the woman supplied proudly. Dear, does your family approve of this arrangement? Leary blinked. My family is deceased. Oh, sweetheart. Mrs. Holston softened tragically, then immediately perked up again. Well then, I approve. You two are adorable. Alex's soul detached from his body out of embarrassment. We're not. Leary leaned close and whispered urgently. Do I answer yes to reduce suspicion, or no to prevent offense? Which avoids siege warfare among humans? He groaned in despair. There's no siege warfare. This is just Earth's social pressure. Leary squared her shoulders. I can handle that. And before Alex could stop her, she bowed respectfully to Mrs. Holston. I am honored by your approval, elder matriarch. Mrs. Holston nearly fainted from joy. Oh my goodness, she's perfect. Alex, don't mess this up. Leary turned to him with solemn intensity, as if she had just negotiated a diplomatic treaty. The neighbor finally left, vibrating with gossip energy. Alex closed the door and leaned forehead first against it. Defeated you, he said without turning. Just told my neighbor we're dating. I believed it was required to maintain honor, she defended, earnest and confused. He rotated slowly to face her. Everything is so much more complicated now. Her voice was small. Did I ruin things again? The despair in her tone punched him harder than embarrassment ever could. He stepped closer, speaking gently, not angrily. No, you didn't ruin anything. I'm just trying to keep you safe, and Earth isn't easy to hide in. People talk, people pry. Her voice steadied. Then teach me how to live here, how to blend. I can adapt if you stay. It was the first time she asked for him. Not ritual, not obligation, just him. He swallowed. I'm not going anywhere. She closed her eyes, relief washing over her glow. And when she opened them again, there wasn't panic or misunderstanding in her expression, just trust in something warm, dangerous, and very human. He had always imagined that if he ever married someone, it would happen with a ring, maybe a cheesy proposal, and definitely without a squad of armored aliens camped outside his apartment. Complex discussing the finer points of honor killings versus diplomatic immunity. But life, apparently, had other plans. Or more accurately, life, plus a blanket, plus one deeply determined alien girl. Leora was pacing the length of his small living room, iridescent hair glowing brighter with every anxious step. Her family no. Her royal escort was waiting just outside, and Ethan could feel their presence like a thunderstorm pressing against the walls. They had not stormed in or threatened violence, which he was counting as a win. But from what he understood of Vesharane culture, they were giving him time to say his final romantic words before they took their princess to wherever starborn royalty went. When they were disappointed in their husbands, he had tried explaining the mix-up again. She had nodded politely, even affected, and responded with something along the lines of, My love, you are too humble to admit the strength of your vows. That was when Ethan realized he was hopelessly, absolutely doomed. Okay, he breathed, rubbing both hands over his face. Let's start from the beginning. You think I proposed? I didn't propose. I was handing you a blanket because you were cold. Yes, she said, stopping in front of him, eyes shimmering like constellations. And in doing so, you made the gesture of eternal care. You offered warmth to one of my bloodline. You promised protection with your own body heat. That is the defining act. I just didn't want you to freeze. He tried. Her lips curled up in a quiet, radiant smile that made his heart feel irrational things. Exactly, she whispered. And a promise of warmth is a promise that does not fade. A romance-obsessed culture should not be allowed access to interstellar travel, he thought, and definitely not allowed to hang out near Italy misunderstood. Domestic objects such as blankets and jackets. It would have been easier if she didn't look so hurt at the mention of mistaken identity. That look alone, hope trembling, dignity cracking, was enough to crush something in him. She wasn't manipulating him. She wasn't forcing him. She genuinely, fully believed he had chosen her. And if there was one universally human flaw, it was the inability to walk away from someone who looked at you like that. But love couldn't be forced, not by translation errors or cultural metaphors. He stepped forward, gently placing his hands on her shoulders. Leora, I care about you. I do, but you can't build your future on a misunderstanding. She closed her eyes. The glow around her body stuttered like a dying comet. If you do not want me, tell me, she whispered, but tell me with your eyes open. Do not say you care only to send me away. The instinct to avoid hurting her collided with the instinct to tell the truth, and somewhere between them he felt something crack inside. He realized he couldn't lie, and he couldn't abandon her either. He exhaled slowly. I don't know what we are yet, but I want to find out, with you, not because a blanket said so, but because I want to try. Leora froze. Then her expression shifted. Hope burst through her composure like sunrise through a storm. She didn't fling herself into his arms. She didn't sob or declare eternal love. She simply took his hand and pressed it to her cheek with reverence that felt ancient. Then I will stay, she breathed. Not because you must have me, but because you choose to learn me. From outside came a tense silence, then a shiver of telepathic announcement. Like a choir of minds asking permission to exist, Leora straightened and walked to the door. It slid open, revealing the armored Vesheran knights waiting stiffly, weapons sheathed. Their leader, a stoic woman with eyes like polished chrome, bowed deeply. Princess, has the human released you from the vow? She intoned. Or has he confirmed the bond? Ethan swallowed. This was the part where galactic diplomacy lived or died. Leora did not hesitate. He has chosen me. The declaration echoed through the hall like a war horn. And then to Ethan's shock the soldiers dropped to one knee in absolute silence. Not to her, but to him. He stumbled back, horrified. No, please don't, I'm not. But Vesheran bowed not for dominance, but for acknowledgement. One of them spoke, voice resonant with respect. If the human chose the princess freely, then his heart is a king's heart. Oh great, Ethan muttered. I upgraded from being single to accidentally royal. The leader rose and addressed him directly. Your home will now be guarded. Your enemies will not breathe. Your health will be ensured. You will be protected until death and beyond. This is the privilege of the chosen consort, he squeaked. I haven't even taken her on a date. This prompted a round of what he assumed were alien, polite coughs, but sounded suspiciously like laughter. Leora stepped close enough that their shoulders almost touched. They will not interfere with your courtship, she said softly. They will simply prevent assassination during it. Yes, that's totally normal, he deadpanned. Everyone has chaperones with plasma rifles. The soldiers knelt again, this time as a ceremonial dismissal, then vanished like shadows, leaving the apartment quiet and absurdly unchanged. Leora turned to him, hope glowing like a second sun. You meant it. You want to learn me? Yeah, he sighed, feeling the weight and warmth of it all. If you'll learn me too. She nodded reverently, as if he had just rewritten the laws of physics with kindness. Then we will start slowly by human custom, she said, voice proud and tender. Good, he smiled. And slowly means we talk, eat, laugh, argue, figure things out. She blinked, stunned. You argue with the one you love. Sometimes, he laughed. It's how humans learn how to love better. She whispered like she was speaking a sacred revelation. Your species truly is unstoppable. They sat together on the old couch, not holding hands, not kissing, just close enough that friendship hovered, and romance waited, patient and curious. She leaned her head on his shoulder after a minute, not assuming, just hoping, and he didn't pull away. He rested his cheek lightly against her hair, and her glow softened to something warm and gentle. No vows, no rituals, just two people breathing the same air, unsure but trying. And maybe that was the real bond, not a blanket, not an ancient custom, not a forced destiny. It was the choice to stay, quietly and deliberately. When leaving would be easier. Outside, the stars turned with indifference. Inside, a human and an alien rewrote the definition of forever, one heartbeat at a time.